What is up, lovers of budget cars and bikes, and welcome to a bit of a different video. Something that I've been meaning to do for the last couple of years, to be honest. It's just a kind of not a heads up per se, but my advice on the tools you should have, really. If you're thinking about fixing up cars, you want to get into basically buying and selling cars, or you want to do the sort of thing that I've been doing over the last few months. If you've been watching the videos, you'll know that I've been buying some kind of salvage cars, Cat N, Cat S, trying to fix them up, sell them for a little bit of a profit if I can, learn some lessons along the way. And it suddenly occurred to me that over the last 3 years or so that I've been doing this kind of work, I've accumulated quite a lot of tools. And, I kind of wish that I'd had all these tools when I first started, because obviously most men of a certain age have got a toolbox per se, and you kind of muddle through and do what you can with what you've got, which is fair enough, and eventually you end up with rooms full of tools. Now, this is a basic video just to tell you what I think you should go out and get yourself if you're thinking about getting into fixing up salvage cars, or even just buying and selling cars. Stuff that you should have really in your arsenal, as it were, just to make your life that little bit extra. And I really hope this kind of helps you guys out and makes you think about, oh shit, I hadn't actually thought that I might need that, because trust me, there are going to be dozens of little tools that you just haven't considered that you might need. And hopefully, as I said, this will help you out in some way or form anyway, and it's just a little extra. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about this, which I bought for one of my first ever projects, the Seat Leon, which I'm linking up here somewhere, because I used that to get the lower control arm off the Seat Leon, because it had been battered and bent and I didn't have anything very useful. And I found this on, I think it was on Amazon. It's by Day Plus. Now, I wouldn't kind of read too much into what they say about Newton meters of torque and all that kind of nonsense. I just wanted something very basic with a decent battery. It says it's got 6,000 milliamps there. It comes with its own case, obviously. We'll have a little look at that. It only comes with one battery, but that's fine. It also does come with some kind of longer sockets there, which should get all your wheels off. And I think they go from 15 up to 19, something along that. In fact, let's have a look and see what we can see on here, because I don't think 14 on here, and it does go up to 19 with the sockets that they give you anyway. Obviously, if you're going to get something like that, I would recommend that you get also something like this. This is a Von Haus. I think I pronounced that correct. Let's see if we can turn that around. A Von Haus. Now, this is one of the best socket sets I've actually had in my life. It comes with all this useless stuff up here. I'm sure you'll agree. We never use this kind of crap over here, do we? Because we've got other stuff. But it does come with a set of kind of not universal spanners, but the most common sizes in that respect. I must find out what I've done with that 10mm as well. Now I can see it there. But it does come with a lot of sockets, which go from, I think it's 6mm all the way up to 27, which is pretty bloody useful, and a really good set. I mean, this is a good quality ratchet with a good quality extension. Again, you get some bigger sockets here as well for bigger jobs, and you also get this tiny little one ratchet here with again another extension and a kind of a screwdriver affair there. Some longer sockets here, and obviously your little bits and bobs there. I would recommend you get something decent in the way of a socket set, because buying cheap means you buy twice. Now, when I go to use my impact driver there, cordless wrench, whatever you want to call it, I do often use these sockets here because they will fit straight onto that 1/2-inch chuck there, as you can see. Very useful. I haven't got it up here, but I've also got an adapter, which means I can use 1/4-inch and 3/8 as well if I need to. But to be honest, talking about that, if I'm going to do that kind of stuff, 1/4-inch, I'm going to use this guy here, which I bought quite recently, Ruyika. Very good. I've got to say, I do recommend this. It comes with 2 batteries. It's more powerful than you would expect it to be for the price. You do get 7 sockets and this kind of 1/2-inch adapter as well, which is really useful, because that obviously just fits, straight onto there, and that means that you can then use most of these 1/2-inch sockets over here. Really useful. And I also, talking of this, got a set of these bad boys here, the Torx Set, because they, again, are 1/4-inch, they'll fit straight onto there. Really imperative you have one of those, because you'll need it for taking off bumpers, you'll need it for taking, well, you don't need it, it just makes your life a hell of a lot easier. And these guys, they're pretty chunky, I mean, it's a good bit of kit. Always remember to switch it off the power supply there, though, because otherwise you'll do what I do, and every time you touch it, it goes off. Now, I think that was around about 48 quid from Amazon. I will put some links in the description for the stuff I can remember, and hopefully that helps you out. Going into these Torx sets, there's also another little set there, the Allen kind of keys in that respect, for doing things like sump plugs when you want to do an oil change. I had to get some of these because I needed a really big chunky one there. The H14 didn't have anything like it, so I bought a set. I think they were about a tenner again off Amazon. And lastly with that, a universal kind of adapter sockety thing there. I can't remember, swivel head socket I think they call that, just to get into those really awkward places. Going back to this Ruyika, though, I also bought a set of these extensions. They kind of go in the long one, then a 3/4, then a tiny little one like so. They're not up here, they're down in the garage. But again, they all fit on here. Those little Torx bits will fit straight onto there, as will, with the adapter, obviously, any of this kind of stuff over here. It just makes your life so much easier. What I tend to do is take all of this. There's the big box down there. We'll talk about that in a minute. I tend to take all of this and I put it in the boot of the car, and I know it's always there. I don't have to come in and out of the house looking for stuff. It's just always there. Lastly, in this little set, I've got these kind of Allen key extension right angle. I don't know what they're called, if I'm honest. Torx and Hex Key Set. There you go. And there's the Marksman, I think they're by. Really useful, but kind of pointless if you're going to go for this set over here, because most of it you can do with that. But, you know, if you need something really chunky and you want to get some good leverage on it, which, I mean, obviously this Ruyika thing here is really good, but it won't do everything. If it's done up really tight, if it's got some Loctite on it, then you may need to loosen it off with one of these, and then obviously you can just spin it off with the gun, which is really very easy. But those are the kind of 4 boxes that I would say you need. The cordless wrench here, the socket set, this hex and Torx keys here, and the impact driver over here. Real basic stuff that I would suggest you go out and buy. This was less than 50 quid, this was less than 50 quid, this was less than 50 quid, and this was about 25 quid. Under 200 quid gets you all of that, and it will last you. I've had this set over here now for 5 years. I've had this set over here for about 4 years. This one only a few months, and this one over here only a few months. Now also, because obviously if you're going to be looking at salvage cars, you're going to have to start taking bits of plastic off and all the rest of it. I do have more of these, but I put these up here so you can have a little look. By CTEK. They come in a set of 5 normally. I would suggest you get a set of those because they're really useful for prying off bits of plastic without snapping them and without having to use a screwdriver, which obviously isn't ideal. And for the lower bumpers, as in underneath the bumper, those are really good as well because you can get straight in underneath, clip them off. There you go, you can see what I'm talking about now. One of those, again, the set of these was about 5 quid, I think, and that was about a £5. Nothing to worry about, but well worth having. Also, in this little set is a nice big... Oh, we'll get that the other way around so it doesn't blind you. A decent LED light that... Well, I chose the one with the magnetic end on it, just purely because you can stick it onto the side of something and you can still see where you are, and it's really useful for that. I like to use, for oil changes, this bad boy here. It fits on the end of a normal 1/2-inch socket, ratchet. Excuse me, fits on the end of a normal ratchet, and basically what happens is, as you can see, it twists around like so, and it's great for getting the oil filters off. You know, you can get into very tight spaces. You just spin it around, it locks in like so, whips it off. Very useful. I think, again, about a £5 off of eBay. Now, that's just some of the parts. I'm going to cut it here and put you into some new parts as well. So some of the little bits and bobs that I think you might need or should have in that collection. So stand by and we'll load up the bed again in that respect. Hold on a minute. Okay, guys, welcome to kind of part 2 almost, but in the same video, as it were, of these tools I think you should have, basically, if you're thinking about getting into fixing up your own cars, buying salvage cars from either Copart, your local salvage auction, or CTEK or CTEK, whichever way you prefer to pronounce that. Just a little heads up on what I've got over the last few years, which I now couldn't really do without, and I find incredibly useful to have in my arsenal. So, you've seen all the kind of tools that come in boxes, the cordless ratchets and little little bits and bobs like that. Just very basic. Make sure you've got a decent set of screwdrivers. So simple, and so it amazes me the amount of people that go out and buy a 10 quid set of screwdrivers. They keep breaking, they can't get enough leverage on it, and they ended up going buying 3 sets of 10 quid screwdrivers. Spend 25 quid. Even Halfords do a very, very decent range of screwdrivers. I mean, I think that's where this lot came from, actually, originally. I think these were originally a Halford set, and you can see they've been very, very well worn. But I use them on every single car. You know, a monkey wrench there as well, a decent one. This is a telescopic leverage bar, as you can see there. It opens up to that, or to that. Very, very useful, again, for getting some purchase on getting your wheel nuts off and stuff like that. Before you use the impact driver, you probably won't be able to get the impact driver to get the nuts off your wheels. You need something like this first, just to loosen them all up. So again, about a £5, I think. So you're looking at what, 25 quid for a set of decent screwdrivers. £5 for one of these. A decent set of pliers as well, which will include some long nose pincer type pliers as well. There's just a couple of pairs I've got there. I've got smaller ones, I've got slightly larger ones. Again, 20 quid, spend 20 quid, get a decent set with some comfortable grips on them as well. As you can see, these are all by Ergo. These are the Halfords ones. Recommend them highly. Something basic like a tape measure. I know you might think, why would I need a tape measure? Trust me, you will need a tape measure if you're going to be starting fixing cars, because you need to make sure everything lines up the way it should do. Again, something very, very simple even. A copper brush for doing things like brake calipers. You know, if you're going to have to change the discs or pads, you want to clean them all up. Get yourself a decent one of those. Less than a £5. Impact driver, there. That does what it says on the tin. I've used that from everything from getting brake discs off to getting the cap off a brake reservoir on a motorcycle. You literally just get one of these little bits in here, you pop it in the top of there, and basically you hit it very, very hard with a lump hammer and it shocks the bolt off. You know, it's very, very old school, but it still works incredibly well. I recommend you get one of those. Again, 25 quid, I think, off eBay will get you a decent one. Don't scrimp on a battery charger either. I bought this. I mean, this is what BMW use for their models, bikes and cars, the CTEK, although there's a BMW branded. This is the latest one, I do believe, the MXS 5.0. Incredible bit of kit. It restores your battery, renews your battery, it brings it back from the dead. Just really, really useful to have. And I think I paid about 50 quid for that. Worth buying it, you know, getting the premium one in that respect. Don't buy the crappy ones for 15 quid. They won't last you. This does a whole host of stuff. I could do a review on any of this stuff, by the way. If anybody's watching this and, you know, has got some of this kind of stuff they want me to review, I will do a dedicated review on anything that gets sent to me, obviously. But this is just what I'm using right now. So battery charging, CTEK. I think they are probably the go-to brand for me, at least. Now, for diagnosing things in your car, I tend to use, and I have done in the past, these Autel. I do believe they're a Chinese brand. I had the slightly cheaper model than this. This is the AL619. I had the slightly cheaper model of this, which I think was about 30 quid. But it didn't do SRS, it didn't do ABS, that kind of stuff. This does it all. The 619 does pretty much everything. It resets all your airbags, it does your ABS, it does a whole host of other things as well. You get your connector in there, plus the manual, obviously. I can't show you it up and running, obviously, because it needs power from the car. But again, well worth having. I think this was about 80 quid, and it has saved my life on so many times. I think I turned the oh crikey, I was thinking it was the mill light, the engine management light on the Volkswagen Polo. That had a problem, and I managed to just switch it off with this in literally 2 minutes flat. It told me what the problem was. I fixed the problem. Done. If you'd have taken it to a garage, they could have charged you anywhere between 30 and 60 quid to do the same thing, and then you've got to fix it. So if you spend 80 quid on here, you use it twice, it's paid for itself, isn't it? Brilliant little bit of kit, highly recommended. And lastly, this. Now, this is basically, by DBPower, this is just a charger pack, or a booster pack in that respect. All the connections that you see here come with it as well, so you get a load of adapters. You essentially you connect this up to the positive and the negative representative of your car battery. You then connect this little bad boy here into this little box here. I don't think it's got any power. Oh, there we go. 100% power. Happy days. And then effectively what happens is you connect it through there, you press the button. I mean, obviously all the instructions are in here. I'm not doing a review on the product per se, but it is by DBPower. Again, I think that was about 60 quid because I didn't want to scrimp and save on a power pack like that. Really useful to have in the back of your car, generally speaking, but obviously very useful to have if you're somebody like me who may end up buying a car that's been sat in a salvage yard for a month, and he gets here and the battery's a bit weak, or you just need to get it started. Perfect little bit of kit, takes up no room at all, comes in its own little carry case over here. That should pop straight into there. There we go. I must remember to turn that off, actually. There you go. And then obviously it just clips over. DBPower and obviously Autel for those kind of things. Now, this isn't really one of my usual type of videos. I just wanted to give you a heads up, and hopefully this helps somebody out in the respect that they might be thinking, right, what do I need to get started on all this? Now, this is stuff I didn't have all the time. I mean, I've not had this all my life, especially the box set like this lot down here. It's stuff that I've accumulated and I wish I'd had in the past, because I've struggled a hell of a lot to basically use tools that weren't right for the job, and I've caused damage by using screwdrivers when I could have used plastic pry tools. I've used the proper the car jack, as it were, that's in the back of the car, and their little bloody thing to get the wheel nuts off and all that kind of crap, and I've struggled. Now I've got a proper, which isn't up here, but I've got a proper jack and some axle stands, which I would suggest you get as well. I mean, I've got a set of axle stands in there from Halfords. Some people don't like them. They're all right. I wouldn't recommend their jack per se, but the jack stands seem to be okay. And again, I wish I'd had that kind of stuff when I first started, because it would have made my job a hell of a lot bloody easier. This kind of stuff here, and the cordless set there, I use it literally on every single car. I use that to charge up every car. This kind of stuff here, the impact driver, hopefully you don't have to use too many times. Same as the adjustable wrench there, hopefully you don't have to use that too many times. But the stuff like the impact wrench cordless, and the impact driver cordless, and the hex and Torx bits, all that kind of stuff that you saw in the first part of this video, you will use that, trust me, and it will make your life a hell of a lot easier, trust me. So if you are, as I said, thinking about getting into this kind of stuff, hopefully this video has given you an insight into what you should be looking for, as in what you will need. And again, it's not what you will need, it'll just make your life a lot easier. You may have a shitload of tools that you think, oh, I can get away with that, I can, use this for that, and I can use that for this, and I can bodge my way through it. Why bodge your way through it when you can buy some really nice bit of kit like this, all this kind of stuff here, and obviously all the box stuff that we saw earlier on as well. I mean, I would say probably to get all of this kind of stuff that I've showed you today cost me less than 400 quid. And it might seem like a lot of money, but you should be making 400 quid in your first car. So why not make it that it takes you 1 day to do it instead of 3 days, because you're running around looking for tools that you may not have, or borrowing them off a friend. Just go out and buy them. Maybe not even all in the same day, just 100 quid a month, 50 quid a month, do it over 6 months, whatever. But as I said, hopefully this will give you an idea of what you should have in your little arsenal if you want to start getting into fixing up cars and making your life a little bit easier by having the right tools. All right, guys, I hope this helped. All right, thanks for watching. Take care now.